Bongino comes out swinging, and he's not kidding around. I can't wait. Kids' back schedule gets a huge beatdown. We'll tell you about that. And it may very well no longer be Captain Mark Kelly. Good. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. We are live on Rumble and X, and we are headed into a Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday is here upon us. One of these days. All right, we're just checking systems here and making sure everything is copacetic. Where did that word come from? Copacetic. What does that mean? I don't know. I have to look it up. I have to grok that, see what copacetic means. Okay, we are good over there. We're good over there. Shut that off. Cool. Okay. We're getting through it slowly but surely. Ah, man. I'm telling you, this thing just gets more and more complicated every time we go. But we'll see. All right. We got all that and more coming up on the show this morning. Happy Tuesday. Not much else going on, really. It's been kind of a bleh sort of Tuesday, but a couple of big news stories that we're going to cover, and actually a couple of very big news stories. The first one, right off the bat, has to do with the now ex-FBI Deputy Director, Dan Bongino. And, of course, he is going to be coming back, I'm sure, right here on Rumble, where you're watching. Most people watch this show. Dan says, I can't wait. Comes out swinging against the grifters, teases a lot of future plans in his post-FBI posting on X. Conservative podcaster Dan Bongino, now the former deputy director of the FBI, with his retirement from the Bureau. He announced that the 17th of December, last day, January 3rd. Leaving his position. He says, January, I want to thank President Trump, A.G. Bondi, Director Patel for the opportunity to serve with purpose. Most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve you. God bless America and all those who defend her. Yes, indeed. The day after Bongino's retirement became official, Kash Patel showered him with praise, said, the FBI is saving lives, protecting innocent kids, taking deadly drugs off our streets at levels not seen in decades. None of it would have been possible without Dan's leadership and support, and he paved the way for even better things to come. How about that? Great words from Kash Patel. Here we go. Updated post on his X account. Bongino said he'd be making a couple of announcements very soon regarding his future plans. You just know he's coming back. Come on. First, he was going to spend some time with his precious family, which is well-deserved. He says, good to see you all. I missed you. Thanks for everything while we worked on cleaning up. A couple of things. Thank you for your interest in the show and its return date. We'll have something for you soon. Trump team's not kidding around in an otherworldly experience from the other side. He is determined and focused, having been around quite a few presidents, Bongino said. This one broke the mold. He continued, if we blocked you, it's because we care so little about your bullshit that we don't deem it worthy of even seeing. Man, he's right back at it. If you're bitching and whining about it, that means you can't even exist without seeing and commenting on ours. You need to get over that. We do it because there's nothing black pillars and anti-Trumpers want more than to create division and drama. How true is that? We're about results, and we'll talk about some of it soon. Love you all. Thanks again. Flaming Elmo emoji. He went on to make a lot of comments about black pillars and all these idiots. He retweeted a great AI thing about him replacing. It's a scene from The Gladiator, which is absolutely brilliant. You can find it out there. Sounds like Bongino is just about ready to unleash absolute hell on some folks, politically speaking. I am so ready for it, Dan. Come on back. We are ready when you're ready, welcoming with open arms. I don't remember. Was his show on at 10 or 11? I think it was 11, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. So hopefully it will be 11, which is after our show at 10, because I really do not want to go up against Dan Bongino, okay? To keep what little audience I have. I love you guys. All right, Marilyn, good morning. Be blessed. And Danny, good morning. All kids are back in school, so blackout coffee sales are about to boom. I certainly hope so. And please, when you place your new order, you still use that link in our show notes for Blackout Coffee. We love these guys. Matter of fact, dang, that's good stuff. All right. So Danny's coming back. We cannot wait. It's going to be, can you imagine that first show is just going to be absolute hell on earth. So much stuff to talk about. And he's going to get at it. That's for damn sure. All right. Rand Paul, who, love him and hate him. He just crosses the line a lot. But he has exposed the Biden administration's no-fly nightmare for January 6 dissenters. This is beyond the pale. It's not making a lot of news coverage, but you need to know about it. Tuesday, U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security, Government Affairs, led by Rand Paul, he's the chair of the committee, he released some key findings in an investigation that included a review of the Biden-era FBI files. The files themselves also being released, and they paint a very damning picture of the weaponization of federal watch lists by the FBI under the Biden administration, of course. Now, this effort to harass, interfere with the citizenry of the U.S., ironically called the Quiet Skies Program. This is part of a report from the actual committee. Chairman Paul of the Senate Homeland Government Affairs Committee released new documents detailing Biden-era Federal Bureau of Investigation's 23-month investigation into Christine Chowder, a Texas Catholic school teacher who was in Washington exercising her First Amendment rights, attended President Trump's rally on the eclipse, January 6, 2021. Documents revealed the FBI labeled Crowder, the wife of a federal air marshal, by the way, a domestic terrorist. Labeled her a domestic terrorist based on an unverified tip submitted by a former friend, despite early investigation results showing absolutely no facial recognition, geolocation search results, no previous criminal activity, no extremist terrorist activities. Even after initially failing to confirm her identity, the FBI subjected Mrs. Crowder to physical surveillance, federal watch listing, including airport surveillance while she was traveling, and they referred her case for prosecution. That referral was made before the FBI could positively even identify the woman. Ultimately rested on what proved to be a case of mistaken identity. Did you hear that? A Catholic school teacher from Texas designated a domestic terrorist based on an unverified tip from someone who claimed to be a former friend. With friends like this, who needs enemies? This investigation's list of key findings should piss you off to no end. Mrs. Crowder wasn't just placed on a watch list, mind you. That would have been bad enough, but her case was also accepted for prosecution based on a tip from some rando citizen. They prosecuted this woman. While this was going on, she was surveilled by the Biden FBI, U.S. Air Marshal Service, not just while traveling, but also when she was in her home. They still had surveillance set up on her because they labeled her a domestic terrorist. Key findings from the FBI report. They opened the investigation into Crowder based on a tip from a former friend. Initial findings indicated negative geolocations, negative facial recognition, no criminal history, no extremist activity. The FBI acknowledged a need to interview Crowder. They claimed she legally entered the U.S. Capitol and recommended her for watch listing and expanded selectee status. FBI physically surveilled Crowder's house at least 4 times to try and identify her and her property. U.S. Attorney's Office accepted the case for prosecution, now listen to this, based only on the tip from this friend. Never fully verified her identity, recommended the FBI conduct a social media analysis, and nearly 2 years and over a month after a photo from a confidential human source confirmed it was a case of mistaken identity, then the FBI's investigation was closed. Tulsi Gabbard, who now serves as the Director of National Intelligence, she was also placed on the terror watch list. You probably heard about this one. This was under the Quiet Skies program. Tulsi Gabbard was at the time, serving as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve. Unbelievable. It wasn't some oversight, some mistake by one isolated agent, a little new to the business maybe. Christine Crowder, who was, again, a Catholic school teacher from Texas, isn't the only kind of person or the only person affected by this kind of government overreach. Tulsi Gabbard, just another example. This was a systematic effort to browbeat, to intimidate, to silence their political opposition. Plain and simple. It's just as easy as that. There is no other way to look at it. Kristi Noem has since canceled the Quiet Skies program, thank goodness. Given its quietus, if you like, any new Democrat admin, Democrat-controlled Congress is what we fear, and we should, because it could just as easily bring it back, or something similar, or something worse. These are the freak Democrats we're talking about. Don't forget. You need another reason to get out and vote? There you go. The midterms are coming. Do not ignore them at your peril. I do have some good news. It's not all bad. Where is my link? Why is that happening? All right, we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. The CDC has just nuked 7 vaccines from your kid's vac schedule. Oh, yeah. CDC announced yesterday it's going to be shaking up the recommended childhood vaccine schedule in order to bring it into alignment with those of other developed nations. As a result, they will now be recommending 10 vaccines for all children, reducing its previous recommendations of 17 vaccines. Wow. Jim O'Neill, Deputy Secretary from HHS, in his role as acting director of the CDC, signed a decision memorandum accepting recommendations from a comprehensive scientific assessment of U.S. childhood immunization practices, following a directive from Trump to review the international best practices from peer-developed countries. A month ago to the day, the president directed O'Neill and O'Neill's boss, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to look at how other developed nations structure their childhood vaccine schedules and examine the scientific evidence used to develop those schedules. And if they found a superior approach, President Trump said they should make appropriate updates. He directed us to examine how other developed nations protect their children and to take action if they're doing it better, Kennedy said. And after an exhaustive review of the evidence, we are aligning the U.S. childhood vaccine schedule with international consensus, strengthening transparency and informed consent. That decision protects our children, respects families, rebuilds trust in public health, which we desperately need. The assessment undertaken by the CDC, which examined childhood immunization practices in 20 developed nations, found the U.S. was a global outlier. Number of diseases covered by their childhood vaccine schedules, total number of doses the government recommends that kids get. And after reviewing all this evidence, Director O'Neill says, I signed a decision memorandum accepting the assessment's recommendations. Fantastic. The administrator of the U.S. Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Oz, pointed out that all of the vaccines on the updated schedule will still be covered by insurance. He said all vaccines currently recommended by CDC will remain covered by insurance without cost sharing. No family will lose access, and this framework empowers you as parents and physicians to make individual decisions based on risk while maintaining strong protection against serious diseases. Wow. The newly truncated kids' vaccine schedule, very welcome news to anybody who's ever had to take their babies and their little ones into the pediatrician's office and hold them down while they're given shot after shot after shot, which often results in fevers, rashes, all kinds of misery for the kids especially. So here's the progress. We are getting there. Wow. All right, a lot of chit-chat about the broadcast, and I'm checking it out right now. From what I see, you're right. We are locked, and I don't know why. Let me try one more thing here to straighten this mess out and see if it's going to work or not. I'm trying, okay? I'm doing my best. All right, we'll see what happens. Let's see, where are we here? No? Okay. We're going to keep going. It's okay. Man. Hey, good news for Captain Mark Kelly. You ain't going to be a captain anymore. FAFO, pal. The Pentagon's move to demote Mark Kelly for his seditious video. Look at this guy. I mean, honestly, look at this guy. He's got like psycho serial killer written all over him. Pete Hegseth said the reckless and seditious video was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. Boom. There you go. Pentagon has initiated proceedings to demote and dock the pay of Senator Mark Kelly Democrat from Arizona, retired Navy captain, after his participation in this seditious video, which told American warfighters to refuse lawful orders from the President of the U.S. Now, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced this proceeding in a social media statement Monday. You'll remember, of course, Kelly was joined by 5 members of Congress, 4 other former members of the military. Kelly's official retired status renders him subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You don't get to run away, Mark. In November, the Pentagon considered recalling him back into the service to potentially face a court-martial for that video. His name is Chris, Danny. Hegseth also referred to Kelly as a captain for now, noting a letter of censure he issued outlining Kelly's reckless misconduct, which will remain in Kelly's permanent military file. These actions, based on Captain Kelly's public statements from June through December 2025, in which he characterized lawful military operations as illegal and counseled members of the armed forces to refuse lawful orders. The process allows Kelly 1 month to respond. Yeah, he gets to respond, of course. That's how our system works in this country. Proceedings going to be finalized in 45 days. Snowball, hell, you don't have a chance, okay? You got what you played for. Kelly's statement portrays the clash as a First Amendment issue, centering on his disagreeing with the administration about military policy. The Department of War indicated the real reason for his censure and investigation is that he was actively trying to sow discord among the military's rank and file. He certainly seemed like it. There are laws against that. They are enforcing them. And for the moment, Captain Kelly, you mucked around, and now you're going to find out. Unbelievable. Good news out of Florida. Oh, yeah. Before we get there, let's see. I even went off the show back to Rumble, punched in the J show, and it's still stuck there. Have to try to see it later. Can we contact the creator of Rumble? What's his name? Stephen, Chris, can't remember. It is Chris Pavlovsky. He's got an account on X. And, of course, I'm not sure how you would get a hold of him on Rumble, but feel free. Far as I can tell, we're doing it all right on this side. I got everything going on here. We're at 1080p. Bit rate of 528, frame rate of only 2 frames per second. That's a little low. Packet loss is only 1%. I know those numbers mean next to nothing to you, but that's where it stands at the moment. We keep trying. We keep trying. All right. Let me head over here. Okay. All right, let's do this. Remove. Goodbye. Good night. Okay. I'm getting to it. Okay. A tidal wave hit Florida. No, not that kind of tidal wave. 10,400 plus illegals nabbed in an epic win. I'm talking huge. Boy, howdy, the 2028 presidential elections are really not that far away when you think about it. If you want to compare the two parties' list of potential candidates, well, Republicans have it in an absolute blowout. Aside from the presumptive candidate, which would be Vice President J.D. Vance, the most effective vice president I have ever seen. The GOP's slate, full, absolutely full. Secretary of State Mark Rubio has a foreign policy chops, time in the Senate. Number of Republican governors would probably like to take a top at the a shot at the top spot. Why not? And the Democrats have who? Nobody? Seriously. Can you name anyone the Democrats have who would be any kind of an obvious choice to run? There isn't one. Whereas we Republicans, we got a big slate. Of course, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whom I fully expect to see run for the office at some point. On Monday, he took to his official X account to praise Florida collaboration with the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, something called Operation Tidal Wave. And over 10,400 illegal immigrants are no longer walking the streets in the Sunshine State. Yep. Wow. The Post says, I was proud to announce, this is DeSantis, a new milestone in our joint efforts to combat illegal immigration and restore order in our communities. Florida law enforcement have arrested more than 10,400 illegals across the state, which is good news, but the governor wasn't done. Florida leads the nation in 287 agreements with DHS, which allows their state and local law enforcement agencies to take part in immigration enforcement in all 67 counties in Florida. Since Operation Tidal Wave began 8 months ago, they have arrested, more than 10,400 illegals and worked with federal partners to remove them from our state. The largest joint immigration enforcement operation in ICE's history, and DeSantis says we are proud to have that continue here in Florida. Wow. Now, of course, there are those on the left, including one Democratic aspirant to the White House, the impeccably coiffed Gavin Newsom, among them, who would, of course, decry this operation. Oh, they're picking on the poor illegals, claiming the Trump admin's state of Florida rounding up tree trimmers and housekeepers. The admin's been primarily targeting known criminals. We point out here that the only acceptable response to anyone in the country illegally is they need to be repatriated. Bye-bye. Go back. Now, what civilized countries do is exactly that. No border, no immigration law. Pretty soon you got no country. Republican, Democrat governors alike. You need to be looking at what Florida's doing. You want to get ahead. You want to improve your citizens' lifestyles. Their crime rates go down. Out of control influx of illegal immigration in the Biden years. Watch and do what Florida is doing, governors. You could do a lot worse for yourselves. You won't, but you should. Oh, Governor Newsom's still going to protest. Even as the flow of illegal immigrants into the U.S. is slowed to an absolute trickle since Trump's been back in office. That's been replaced by another huge migration, the productive people fleeing Newsom's California. Everybody's getting out of that state who has half of a lick of sense. And a lot of them are going to Florida, which really says a lot. ICE-related story. Oh, man. Hilton, the hotel chain? Freaking knuckleheads. Seriously. Unbelievable. Hilton has finally responded after DHS said the hotels told them to go pound sand. Go stay somewhere else. Hilton Hotels finally responded with a rather milquetoast statement, claimed their properties serve as a welcoming place for all. It does not say whether there would be any consequences for the apparently inhospitable attitude of their member hotels or hotel. But Bill Milligan, Hilton's statement to Fox News: this hotel is independently owned and operated, and the actions referenced are not reflective of Hilton values. We are investigating this matter with the hotel. Yeah, right. And can confirm Hilton works with governments, law enforcement, and community leaders around the world to ensure our properties are open and inviting to everyone. Well, Hilton, let's just have a little look at your past history, recent past. Hilton Hotel's advertising tagline is "For the Stay." What exactly does that, what the hell's the point? For the stay? That's their advertising tagline. Hilton Hotels, for the stay. Well, whatever the reason, that is a really weird choice. Evidently, it just does not apply to the Department of Homeland Security or ICE, because it appears they will not be met with open arms at a Hilton hotel. According to DHS, their personnel were not welcome at Minneapolis area Hiltons. They have launched this is from Homeland Security, launched a coordinated campaign to refuse service to DHS law enforcement, while officers attempted to book rooms using official government emails and rates. Hilton Hotels maliciously canceled their reservations. This is unacceptable. Why is Hilton siding with the murderers and the rapists to deliberately undermine and impede DHS law enforcement from their mission to enforce our nation's immigration laws? DHS email concluded communication with the hotel chain, message not very inviting. After further investigation online, we found information about immigration work connected with your name, and we will be canceling your upcoming reservation. You should see a proper cancellation email in your inbox shortly from Hilton. Liberals, Democrats often have a very frosty and often very violent response to DHS and ICE's effort to restore law and order in these various cities across the country, trying to undo the let 'em all in old Joe programs. What appears to be a second email, Hampton Inn, which is owned by Hilton Worldwide, basically tells DHS to go pound sand. Listen, this email, in regards to the reservation you made with the Hampton Inn Lakeville property, we've noticed an influx of Gov reservations made today that have been for DHS, and we are not allowing any ICE or immigration agents to stay at our property. If you are with DHS or immigration, let us know, as we will have to cancel your reservation. Please pass this on to your coworkers that we are not allowing any immigration agents to house on our properties. Reply at your earliest convenience. Either Hilton's got to stand up, take a stand, condemn this bullshit, apologize, reverse it, or Hilton Hotel heads to that boycott list right fast. Companies emphasize it, wants to welcome immigrants, has a policy of employing refugees. 2020 statement emphasized that Hilton did not support the detention of immigrants at its properties. Reports that agents had used rooms to house immigrants, including minors, in Texas. Now, for the time being, unless they come out with some other statement, which as of now they have not, it seems Hilton's message to law enforcement is for the stay. Just stay somewhere else. Unbelievable, these people. Absolutely unbelievable. Illegal alien truckers. Next on the hit parade. Seriously. You know, when you think about this story, which we've covered a lot on this show, you got to think about the idea that they're on the road. They shouldn't be on the road. They can't read English. They don't speak English. And they are killing people. Seriously killing people. Well, guess what? That's not all they're doing. An illegal alien trucker who was from India, based in California, has been caught with $7 million worth of cocaine at a traffic stop. $7 million. Look at this. There you go. That's cocaine, folks. And there's the two knuckleheads that got busted for it, who shouldn't even have been on the road anyway. Indian illegal alien truck drivers are not just killing Americans with their reckless driving, they are running drugs across this country. Gurpreet Singh of Fresno, California, and Jasvir Singh from Santa Clara, arrested in Putnam County, Indiana on Saturday with a charge of dealing narcotics over 300 pounds. They were found in the sleeper berth of the semi-tractor trailer during a routine DOT inspection. Can you imagine that DOT inspector opening up the sleeper berth and going, oh my. Now those are both drugs and truckers off the street. Both Mr. Singhs, or both surnames are Singh, subjected to ICE deportation holds. The Indiana State Police said approximately 1:30 p.m., a police trooper stopped a blue International semi-tractor trailer on I-70 for a routine DOP compliance inspection. During conversations with the driver, criminal indicators were observed, and a positive alert from a state police canine led to a probable cause search, and during that search, they found the 300 pounds of cocaine in the sleeper berth of the truck. $7 million worth of cocaine. Headed for Joplin, Missouri to Richmond, Indiana. According to the state police, the investigation and seizure conducted by a full-time interdiction trooper with the Drug Enforcement Section, partnering with ICE to try and keep illegals off the roads and the highways. Governor Mike Brown, Indiana, at the time said, "We are the crossroads of America, and that's something we're proud of. But it also means we've got to stay vigilant against those using our interstates for crime and endangering our communities." ICE is working with the Indiana State Police to expand the program by incorporating additional state troopers assigned to the Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division. They protect lawful truckers, trucking companies, keep the Hoosiers safe there. We cannot get these people off our streets fast enough, folks. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay. I can't even believe these morons are making this argument, but it's an argument. And the answer to it is no, illegal immigration will not fix America's fertility crisis. Although some would have you believe that. The birth rate will go up if Americans prioritize having and raising their own children. Not because they have foreigners, many of them illegals, to change diapers. We do not need illegal immigrants to raise our children. Atlantic writer Olga Kazan couldn't disagree more. Listen to this bullcrap. She's angry at Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration because it's disrupting the easily exploited service class that provides basically cheap childcare, which is all she cares about. She says millions of parents in the U.S. rely on immigrants to take care of their kids. Immigrants make up at least 21% of the workforce in childcare. And that very well could be an undercount. So, Americans are not obligated to set aside our immigration laws just so women like Olga can have cheaper, more subservient nannies and daycare workers. Maybe she's aware that demanding lower paid servants is kind of a bad look. She attempts to troll conservatives, arguing that importing childcare workers is a crucial pro-natal policy. What? As she puts it, in his first public address as Vice President, Vance said it should be easier to raise a family in America, and his administration's immigration policies could make doing that so much harder. She argues more immigrants, legal or illegal, means cheaper childcare, which means more working mothers in America. Contrast fewer immigrants in the American workforce. Economic research suggests women may work less or have fewer babies, or maybe both. She leans into the latter point, although she's forced to admit the relationship between affordable health care and fertility is a little fuzzy, putting it mildly. European nations, huge child care benefits they get there. Subsidies not notably found. But Olga argues some data shows a connection between immigration and American fertility. That's a bit of a stretch. Little evidence she provides for any of her ridiculous arguments, citing a working paper by a grad student and a 2015 study covering data from 1980 to 2000, 26 years ago at best. She says as evidence that increased immigration laws lead to lower child care costs, which seems to have led to more educated women having kids. Lower child care costs for educated women, resulting from driving down wages for working class American women. What? Now, there are reasons for leniency in some immigration cases. Those who were brought here as young children decades ago. But demanding a law that is very lax in its approach to immigration enforcement, to have a cheap servant class, is beyond the pale. It's repulsive. Importing waves of foreigners who will raise our kids for low wages is just not a sustainable solution to low birth rates. It doesn't even make any sense. And yet they're trying their damnedest to make sense of it. What actually raises birth rates is marriage and religion. The solution to low birth rates is not going to be found in any immigration policy, but through people going back to church, rejecting the sexual revolution, getting married. It's really quite that simple. And in some cases, that hard. Core difficulty is not material. Yeah, there are policy changes that could help encourage having more babies, starting with making housing more affordable. Brilliant idea, by making it easier to build more houses. We should look for ways to ease some of the burdens of parenthood, and there are plenty. But they will always be there. You're not going to get rid of them entirely. Lightening them up a bit might not do too much to persuade people that are worth bearing. Requires a change in priorities, a realization that what really matters in life is people. You got to stop worshiping the idols of status, wealth, amusement. You got to realize that true fulfillment is found in giving ourselves away in love rather than hoarding ourselves for others. Immigration policies do not increase birth rates, folks. It never has, and it never will. Hey, here's some good news. Here's some very good news, as a matter of fact. 2 Colorado hospitals have stopped sex change drugs for minors. Yay! The reason, they say, is the HHS crackdown. Well, good. I don't care what the reason is, as long as you stopped. 2 hospitals in Colorado have now stopped giving sex change drugs to minors, citing a crackdown from President Trump's Department of Health and Human Services. Both the Children's Hospital of Colorado and the Denver Healthcare said they will no longer write or renew prescriptions for puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for patients under 18 years old. Following the Department of Health and Human Services announcement, referral of an investigation against Children's Hospital of Colorado, the hospital must suspend all medical gender-affirming care for patients under 18 while we await the court ruling and assess the rapidly evolving legal landscape. Good news. Denver Health also put out a similar statement, made the difficult decision to suspend gender-affirming care to youth. Youth. They're freaking kids, okay? Youth. They've stopped doing it. That's the important part of this headline. No more. Keep the fight. Keep it going. Keep on the pressure. All right. I got one more. It's a shorty. It's a visual. It's absolutely beautiful. I might have shown you this before. I'm not sure. But I'm going to show it to you again because it's amazing. And since it's winter time across the U.S., maybe you can try this where you live. It's got to be cold enough, though. This is what happens when you take a bubble, you know, a bubble, like you blow a bubble, and you do that outside in the cold of winter. Watch this. It's amazing. Is that not incredible? Look at that. Now, the fact they're doing it at sunset or sunrise gives that golden glow, which is just adding to the amazing part. But that is absolutely incredible as it forms. Look at that. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple iTunes, one of our podcasts, check out the video on Rumble or X. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. Wow. Beautiful. We needed that kind of calm moment. We really did. All right. Whatever's going on with the live stream, I don't know. I've tried 6 ways to Sunday to get it to be fixed. Whether it is or not, Lord only knows. Hopefully, once the whole thing gets uploaded, it'll be fine. If not, we will re-upload a version because we do record the show behind the scenes. So even if our live stream gets screwed up, we've still got a version of it for you. We will get up there. All right, for those of you who watch the VOD, video on demand, that's going to do it. We are done for a Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow for the midweek hump day over-the-top version of the Jay Sheldon Show. Thanks, folks. We'll see you then.